it's Good News with Dick Baumbach. I'm Jeff Heiser here with Mr. Baumbach for the Good News section here on TNR, Talk Network Radio. How are you, Mr. Baumbach?
I am doing great, and I've got a lot of good news.
I hear that you have something very special for us starting over, I guess, today, this week, and the next several weeks.
Yes. What we're going to do is these are good news stories that have been broadcast by us over the last 5 years. And the first person to contact either TNR or me at spacecoastcityguide@gmail.com with the year of these stories will get a Apple gift card. Now, there will be one exception to this.
Yeah, family members aren't going to be allowed to participate, at least for my family and the Baumbach family.
That's right.
So the way you contact us, again, is City Guide. That's CITYGUIDE @gmail.com or at info@Talk Network Radio. That's info@TALKNETWORK radio.com. So we have some really good news articles to kick off this little, I guess you would call it romp down memory lane or memory trail or
good news time.
Good news. It's the good news time, just like story time, but we're
right
going back a little ways. So the first one you have is homeless man saves girl from attempted abduction.
Now, this one here actually happened in the Orlando area, and the gentleman was homeless, and he saw a 14-year-old girl that somebody was trying to abduct near State Route 50 and County Road 419, and he decided to confront the person, and the person took off, and the police showed up, and he explained that he was homeless, but he didn't feel comfortable about it, and the police thanked him, and they eventually did catch the person, and the 14-year-old girl and her family are forever grateful to this homeless man.
Wow. Now, this brings up an interesting, I don't want to say dilemma with our contest, but there's been several of these that have happened over the years. So how are we going to know if they're calling in with the right one for the right year?
Well, they're going to have to give us probably the month and the year. If they do that, then we're in good shape.
Okay. That sounds good. Or maybe something very specific to the story.
Right. Exactly.
Like this one, maybe it's Highway 50 and 419.
Okay. Right. Or where the park was located or something like that.
Wow. That's I remember that story actually. That's a pretty good story.
So do I.
Our next one is after 25 years of trying, two friends win $14 million jackpot. Now, this is just amazing, and it's not Dick Baumbach and Jeff Heiser, so that should date you a little bit.
Oh, I thought that's who we were going to tell everybody.
No, we won the $10 million.
Oh, okay. That's between us, though. This happened in New York, and two people, one gentleman worked for another gentleman, and every single week they bought lottery tickets, and nothing happened. And what the one gentleman did, the employee, he went one day, got the weekly lottery tickets, and picked up two quick picks. And one of the pick picks was $14 million.
You hear all these people that have played these lottos year in and year out, and they got their set numbers. And then somebody on the team will always go, well, let's just get a quick pick. And it's the quick pick that wins.
I know.
It's crazy. There was that story down in Melbourne Beach about that.
That's right.
That's the way they won it.
They won it.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that wasn't us either.
Well, the thing is, again, I know that once in a while we'll do lottery tickets
Yeah.
for Powerball or whatever. But, I mean, these guys did this for 10 years.
That's dedication, actually.
And, you know, and then they hit it. And
Wow.
they ended up taking the lump sum, which was like each one of them got like $4 million.
Wow. You know, over the years, I've been, I have a set of numbers that I've had, and I don't play them, but I keep track of them. And you know what? They haven't come in.
I'm the
At
same
all.
way, but once in a while I'll play the numbers with my fingers crossed.
Yeah. When I feel like it's time, you know, like maybe I might do it, but most of the time it just doesn't feel right to me. So the next story you have for this particular year is at 102, she changes oil, spark plugs on her 82-year-old car. Now, I have to say, this is not about my Aunt Joan.
Okay. All right. We got that. Okay. This lady is named Margaret Dunning, and she bought a 1930 Packard in 1949. And she liked the smell of gas, and so she decided that she's just going to always change the oil and fix the spark plugs. And she did it, and she was 102, and for all we know, Margaret could still be doing it.
That or she could still be sniffing gas.
That's very true. Yeah, and that's very true. And just so people know, a little tip, she was from Michigan.
From Michigan. Now, you know, it's funny what you said about the gas. She liked the smell of gas. I wonder if that had anything to do with her longevity of 102 years old.
Well, maybe. I mean, and did I ever share my good news story about an older car?
No.
When I was working up in Nashville, a friend of mine and I decided we wanted to buy an antique car. So, because I worked for the governor at the time, I was traveling around the state. So he was a doctor. So we decided that I'd be the one to think. Well, 6 months after we started this, I got a phone call. Mr. Baumbach, you still want to buy an antique car? I said, sure. I said, what year is it? 1938 Hudson Terraplane.
Wow.
So I said, well, how much do you want, sir? So he told me. So I said, are you sure? He said, absolutely. So my friend and I said, we'll be there on Saturday. My friend and I, we loaded in his van with the kids, drove over to about 100 miles from Nashville, pulled up. He was standing right in front of his house. We said, where's the car? I said, it's in the barn. He said, does it run? He said, of course it runs. So gave us the keys, had 27,000 miles on it.
No way.
Yes, and we drove it around. It was fine, absolutely perfect. And we then back to him and said, now, sir, are you sure that's how much you want for the car? He said, absolutely nothing less. We paid him $800.
Holy smokes.
Now, the rest of the story, the good news for him, as we're leaving, he says, boys, can I shake your hand? We said, sure. Why you want to shake our hand? I just made $200. He had bought the car in 1938 for $600.
Oh,
right.
Now, I actually had several antique cars. My first two were a 1952 and a 1953 Chevy. And I spent a lot of time. I took the motor out of the one, put it in the other, and did all this stuff. And my scoutmaster, who I call Uncle Harry, came over, and he says, well, let's go take it for a test ride. And, you know, I had done a lot of work, thought it was really souped up and ready to go. And we pulled out and went down the street, and we heard this big, huge bang. And we thought it was a backfire, and it was the motor. That was the end of that. And I had just spent 6 months working on this car, and that was it. Yeah, so we got rid of that. But he felt so bad about it that he gave me a 1960 Pontiac Ventura.
Wow.
And wow, was that a car. It had a 389 engine in it, and man, that was just, that was really
Is that the one that's outside?
No, that that's
Gone on.
that's not an antique yet. By the time I get done paying for it, it will be. So the next story you have is umpire saved woman with CPR. Instinct took over.
Okay, this is Jim Joyce, and he's a veteran umpire. And this happened, again, like we said, several years ago. It happened in Arizona. He was calling the games for the Diamondbacks, and he had botched a call during a major league pitcher who was supposed to have a perfect game, and he made the wrong call. But anyway, in this case, there was a lady who worked there who had a heart attack, and nobody was figuring out what to do. He ran off the field, did the CPR on her, and saved her life.
Wow. Now, was the heart attack right after the bad call?
No, it was weeks after the bad call. But, I mean, he stopped the game, and he said, I know how to do CPR, so I wanted to help her.
You know, I don't know if you'd see that today.
Well, I mean, we would hope that you would, and that people would say that they still want to help people.
Right. You know, why I say that is, I don't know if you follow baseball a lot. I know members of your family do.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a game last week, I think it was last week, where they were yelling racial slurs at the players. It's just a game.
Yeah.
It's just a game, and they're calling them all kinds of things, and it's like, where has that game gotten to, you know?
Well, where is everything? That's why every week we try and
bring the good news,
the other side of the story.
Yeah, you know, one of the bad news stories about baseball is, do you remember the guy, the pitcher for, I think it was the Atlanta Braves, John Rocker?
I remember that name.
Yeah, he was the nut job. He would yell at the fans and go after them and throw the ball at them and stuff. Instead of pitching the ball, he'd throw it at the fans. I wonder whatever happened to him. You know, he was such a good pitcher, lost it. He kind of lost his mind, and then just fell off the face of the earth.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, that's been our good news for this week.
That's right, and we're looking forward to people wanting to win those Apple cards, and there's only going to be one Apple card given out each time we do this.
Now, tell them one more time how to get in touch.
They can get in touch either to me at spacecoastcityguide@gmail.com or you.
info@talknetworkradio.com. Have a great week, Mr. Baumbach. We'll see you again next week with more good news.